It all started on a rainy Friday evening, the kind where the clouds hang low and the air smells like wet pavement and trouble. I wasn't supposed to be there. Not in her yard. Not in her house. Definitely not slipping through her side door with a hoodie over my head, praying nobody saw me. But life doesn't wait for perfect timing. And neither did she. Her name was Mrs. Langford. Everyone called her Marissa, but to me she was always Mrs. Langford, my neighbor's mom, the woman with the intimidating smile and the kind of beauty that didn't fade with time. She carried herself like a woman who knew the effect she had on people, and ignored it anyway. That night, I was sneaking in for a reason. My best friend Danny had left his camera at home, and we needed it for a school project due the next morning. Of course, he'd gone on a camping trip without warning and left me scrambling. So I volunteered to break into his place like some budget Mission Impossible stuntman. I tiptoed around the back porch, avoiding the creaky third step, and eased the sliding door open. That's when I heard the voice, low, amused, and way too close. "Looking for something, Tyler?" I froze. There she was, Mrs. Langford, leaning against the kitchen counter in a loose robe that clung a little too perfectly to her curves, holding a glass of red wine like it belonged in her hand. Her eyes were curious, not angry, not scared, just watchful, like she already knew the ending of a story I hadn't started telling. My voice cracked as I tried to speak. I just needed Danny's camera. For school. I didn't mean to. She walked toward me, barefoot, calm, and absolutely in control. "Relax. I figured you'd show up. Danny told me everything before he left. The camera's upstairs. But since you came through the back, I assumed you didn't want to run into anyone else." I nodded, embarrassed. "Didn't want to bother you." "You haven't." She sipped her wine, then set it down and motioned toward the stairs. "Come on. I'll show you." I followed her up, trying not to let my eyes wander. Her robe shifted slightly with each step, and I hated how aware I was of everything. The sound of her feet on the carpet, the scent of her perfume, the way she glanced over her shoulder with the faintest smile. Danny's room hadn't changed much. Posters, socks on the floor, a mountain of textbooks. Mrs. Langford stepped inside ahead of me and knelt by the desk. "He said it was in the second drawer," she murmured. I crouched beside her. For a second, our arms brushed. Static jumped across my skin. She paused. "There it is," I said, pulling out the small black camera. She didn't move, just looked at me for a long moment. "You've grown up a lot, Tyler. You used to be that shy little boy who avoided eye contact with me. You used to scare me," I said with a nervous laugh. "And now," I swallowed. "Now I don't know what to think." She stood slowly. "You should be careful sneaking into places that don't belong to you. People might get the wrong idea." I stood too, heart thudding in my chest. "Did you?" Mrs. Langford didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the door, but instead of opening it, she turned the lock with a soft click. Then she turned to face me. "You're not a little boy anymore." My breath caught. The air between us felt thick, electric. It wasn't just about a camera anymore. And as she stepped closer, her voice dropped to a whisper. "If you're going to sneak in, Tyler, you might as well stay, for a while." And that's when I realized I hadn't been caught. I'd been expected. End of part 1. Her words echoed through my mind like thunder, quiet, but impossible to ignore. "If you're going to sneak in, Tyler, you might as well stay for a while." My heart was pounding so hard I thought she might hear it. The room was dim, the only light coming from the hallway behind her, casting soft shadows across her face. She looked calm. I didn't know if I should be terrified or flattered. Maybe both. I hesitated, gripping the camera tighter than I needed to. "Are you serious?" She smiled. Not the polite kind you give to neighbors or strangers. This one was different. Intimate. Meant for me. I don't say things I don't mean. Marissa, Mrs. Langford, walked past me and sat on the edge of Danny's bed. She didn't look away. "You've always been polite. Respectful. But tonight you didn't knock. You came in without asking. Maybe that says something." I stepped back toward the wall, needing space, clarity, anything. I didn't mean for this to get weird. I swear. And yet, here we are. She tilted her head. "You could leave, Tyler. Walk out that door with the camera. No one would ever know." Her voice was soft. Inviting. But there was something beneath it, a challenge. She was giving me the choice. But I wasn't sure if I was ready for what staying meant. The silence stretched. "I've always wondered," she said suddenly, "if you saw me the way I saw you." My eyes widened. "What do you mean?" She leaned back on her hands, legs crossed, robe still perfectly in place but feeling more dangerous by the second. You think you've been sneaking looks all these years? Tyler, I saw every glance. Every flush on your face when I asked you how school was. You think I didn't notice? I swallowed hard, because she was right. I had noticed her, too much. And now all those moments had led to this one, balanced between reality and something I'd only ever dreamed about. You don't have to pretend anymore, she whispered. And something in me snapped. The fear, the guilt, the uncertainty, it all dissolved under her gaze. I stepped forward just once, just enough to let her know I wasn't going to run. You're not what I expected, I said. She laughed, soft and throaty. No one ever is. But you're braver than I gave you credit for. I sat on the bed beside her, still gripping the camera like a lifeline. She reached out and took it gently from my hands, setting it on the nightstand. Her fingers brushed mine, deliberately this time. Why me? I asked. You could have anyone. Because you see me, she interrupted. Not just the mom next door. Not just someone's past. You see me now. And you don't run away. My throat felt tight. I never wanted to cross a line. I thought it was wrong to even think about you like that. But you did. I nodded. She leaned in, her voice a breath against my skin. And now you're here. I could have stopped it. I could have stood up, left the room, forgotten the whole night. But I didn't. Because something about her honesty, her quiet, confident vulnerability, pulled me in. This wasn't just about attraction. It was about timing. About two people who had been walking in parallel lines until now. I don't know where this goes, I admitted. She touched my cheek gently, her thumb tracing the edge of my jaw. Neither do I. But I know I don't want it to end before it starts. She kissed me, slow, certain, and full of everything we'd been too afraid to say. And I kissed her back, not because it was reckless, but because it finally made sense. Time slowed. The outside world vanished. And for the first time in years, I wasn't thinking about tomorrow. Just her. Just now. But just as quickly as it began, the moment was broken by the unmistakable sound of a door downstairs opening. Voices. Footsteps. Marissa pulled back, eyes wide. Danny, she whispered. My stomach dropped. We froze. Our breath held in our lungs like trapped secrets. And suddenly, the safe little world we'd created in that room was cracking at the edges. She looked at me, panic flashing behind her calm facade. You have to hide. End of part 2. I dove into Danny's closet just in time. The sliding doors shut quietly behind me, and I crouched among the old clothes and shoes, heart hammering in my chest like a drumline. I could hear everything. Danny's familiar voice downstairs, chatting with someone, probably one of his friends from the trip. And Marissa, Mrs. Langford, her tone calm and steady, masking what had just happened. Like nothing had changed. But everything had. Minutes felt like hours as I waited in that dark, stuffy closet. My thoughts raced. What was I even doing? What had I just let happen? Was this real, or some strange dream built from years of buried feelings and confusing signals? Eventually, Danny's footsteps came closer. He passed his room without opening the door, muttering something about needing to shower first. I heard the water start. The closet felt like a tomb. I wanted to run. I also didn't want to leave. The door slid open quietly. Marissa stood there, finger to her lips, motioning me out. I crept silently behind her, tiptoeing down the hallway. We didn't say a word until we reached the back door. She turned to me. Her face was different now. Not playful or daring. Just real. I'm sorry, she said softly. I wasn't thinking clearly. I shouldn't have let it go that far. I nodded, not out of agreement, but understanding. It's okay. I wasn't thinking either. We stood there for a moment, the cool night air drifting in from the porch. It should have felt awkward, but it didn't. We had crossed a line, yes, but somehow in the aftermath, it didn't feel like destruction. It felt like clarity. I'm not someone you should get tangled up with, she continued. You've got your whole life ahead of you. This, whatever this was, can't go anywhere. It was a moment, maybe a needed one, but not forever. And I respected her more in that moment than I ever had before. You're right, I said. But I don't regret it. She smiled, and it wasn't sad or regretful. It was full of warmth. Neither do I. I stepped out into the night. The rain had stopped. The streets shimmered beneath the streetlights. Everything looked the same, but I felt different. Older. Wiser, maybe. More aware of how powerful moments could be, even if they didn't last. The next day at school, I turned in the project. Danny didn't suspect a thing. Marissa and I never spoke of that night again, not in words. But every now and then, when I'd pass her on the street or wave from across the yard, there was a flicker in her eyes. Not longing, not guilt, just a knowing, a memory shared. As weeks turned into months, I focused on my future, college applications, graduation, figuring out who I was becoming. Marissa remained the graceful, composed neighbor. And I respected her boundary. She had reminded me that some experiences, no matter how intense or real, don't need to last forever to matter. Because that night taught me more than any class or lecture could. Sometimes, life throws you into the unexpected, into the arms of a moment you never saw coming. It might not lead to happily ever after, but it leaves you with something else: perspective, growth, understanding. And the moral? Not every spark is meant to burn forever. Some are meant to ignite you, to wake you up, to remind you of your worth, your strength, and the beauty of connection, even when it's brief. And sometimes growing up means knowing when to walk away, with your heart fuller, your eyes clearer, and your soul more alive than before. That was the night I truly became an adult. Not because of what happened, but because of what I chose after. And I've never looked back.